coming to get you.
Welcome to the Fear Central podcast. I am Mike.
I'm Heather.
Chris.
Soy Pablo.
It's Pablo tonight.
It's the most interesting man
That's
on
Paul.
earth.
And we are a weekly podcast on the horror genre, giving you our thoughts and ideas about it. If it's your first time here, welcome. If it's not your first time here, welcome back. So, how's everybody's week been? How's everybody doing?
We're here.
Yeah,
It's been a week.
we made it. We made it through another week.
Yeah, it's the beginning of a new one. That's
Yes.
the best thing to say.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Kind of disappointed.
Got one of my children into college for their third year.
There you go.
Now we
Yay.
got two seniors.
And fortunately, this year it was not already 110 degrees outside. It was like in the 80s.
Right.
That was good.
And then we have a senior and a sophomore.
Got a senior, a sophomore, and one that's just traipsing the country somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, moving on along.
Still a little disappointed in the vaccine.
And Paul has a Cooper.
Yep.
Paul has a Cooper.
Yeah.
A furry thing that's on the floor.
Shout out to Wendy, who is not with us right now, but
Yes.
will be shortly joining us for a
Yes.
weekly podcast. I'm excited.
God, Wendy.
I don't know.
You're voluntelling her, huh?
No, I'm just hoping.
Well, we kind
even
of
if
put
she
her on the
doesn't-
chopping block.
Well, even if she doesn't join, she'll at least be here.
Right.
Who knows?
You know,
one of us.
she's one of us.
Gobble gobble.
Gobble gobble.
There we go. We're already getting these movie references in. We got Evil Dead. We got Freaks.
Brains.
Okay.
All right.
Yep.
So this week we
So-
are talking about what, Mike?
Classics
What kind of classics?
that are in the cult status.
Ooh, cold classics.
Nice.
I've yet to find one movie with an extra cup of Kool-Aid with it.
There are like 7 Jim Jones movies.
Yeah.
You got your pick.
But I wanted that special edition box
What's the one
set that
with Powers
came
Booth?
with the
That one's pretty
Kool-Aid.
good.
Ooh, I don't want the Kool-Aid. No, thank you.
Kool-Aid? No?
No Kool-Aid for me.
No
We're good.
Kool-Aid.
Well, can I do the other one where you get the spaceship?
There's one that has a spaceship with it.
Yeah, that was the other cult. In
Oh,
California.
the
Heaven's Gate, isn't
Heaven's
it?
Yeah.
Gate. Yeah.
There you go.
You know, because they were supposed to fly off in a spaceship. Yeah. But that's not the cults we're talking about.
Okay.
We're
No.
talking about movies that have gained a cult status or a
Yes.
cult following.
That did terrible in the box office, but have
Yeah.
become fan favorites.
Here, should I read the definition that I found?
Yes, and we'll say whether we argue it or not.
Okay, let me get to it. I gotta get to it.
Come on, Mike. You're supposed to be prepared.
I know I'm supposed to be.
What site are you looking at for this definition?
I don't remember where I found it. I
Dictionary.com,
just did a
Oxford,
search on it, and it was the one that
Roget's.
just popped up right on Bing.
Okay.
Bing.
Pornhub.
Yeah, that's it.
Okay.
That's a different kind of show, guys.
Found chicka wow wow.
Wow. Let's see. Oh, look, there's a golem. Kinky. I'm just reading through stuff.
Yeah, I know. We'll wait for you.
Okay.
Yeah, the
Wheel of
audience and
Morbidity.
us appreciate it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
I mean,
I would do the Jeopardy theme, but that's copyright infringement. so-
Yeah. Okay. I passed it somewhere. Where was it? But see, I'm sorry, folks. While you're waiting, just go over and click that subscribe button. You know, leave us a rating and a review.
What makes a movie a cult film?
That's
a
it.
cult film or cult movie, also commonly referred to as a cult classic, is a film that has acquired a cult following. Cult films are known for their dedicated, passionate fan base and elaborate subculture that engage in repeated viewings, quoting dialogue, and audience participation.
Well, if that's the case, every film we watch is a cult classic.
Right?
We quote everything.
We do.
Yeah.
even the bad ones.
I cult some strange movies.
Yes, you
Yes.
do. I even have a shirt that says "I speak fluent horror film."
Yep.
Yes.
It's amazing.
So So let's just dive right in
Okay.
to their
Okay.
cult classics.
So get the high dive, get the little cup of water. Just
So at the beginning of the week, we started sharing several lists.
We did.
And there were some movies. Let's start with talking about the movies that were kept popping up on lists that we disagree with being labeled as cult classics for whatever reason.
Halloween.
Halloween.
Friday 13th. All the Friday 13th. Aliens.
The Exorcist.
Alien
Aliens.
franchise.
Yeah.
You know, all the ones that
Suspiria.
are super pop. No, I think Suspiria is still in that cult classic. But like the mainstream ones that like you can go outside and you could say Michael Myers and most people know who you're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Hellraiser.
Yeah.
You know.
Now, not saying that at one point they weren't a cult classic.
Right.
But they have just grown and evolved into the mainstream
especially
pop culture.
with
I mean, I would disagree on Alien and Aliens. Like they were.
You don't think so?
They were released wide, and I hear stories about like tons of stories about people like, oh, I went to the cinema to watch that and everything. You know.
Well,
that's why I think they should be in the non-cult.
Yeah.
Well, and I think that Halloween with the recreation of some of the new movies that have come out, the two new ones and the one that's fixing to come out.
Speaking of which, I was going to say I'm so excited.
I am too. I'm all about it.
I'm just afraid that a lot of the kills were put in the trailer, and I'm going to be disappointed.
You know,
I hope not.
Plus in most of those kinds of movies, they have the remakes. You have the remakes of Friday the 13th, and you have the remakes of
My Bloody
Texas
Valentine.
Chainsaw Massacre.
2 remakes of Hellraiser.
2 remakes of Hellraiser.
Yeah.
The very last one was a terrible
And Chucky's
movie.
about to get his own series. So
Yeah.
Chucky,
I'm looking forward to that so much.
Chucky is getting
Are
his
you
own
really?
series.
Yeah, it's from the actual creator. The remake I was not.
It's like a kid at
Right.
Christmas. It's so cute.
I know, right?
He's like, yes.
Yeah.
Brad Dourif. If it's Brad Dourif, I'm there.
I was showing her that trailer yesterday, and she's like looking at it like, oh, I don't know. I'm like,
Well, it could go one of two ways. It could go really well done, or it could go super cheesy and not really worth the effort and brain cells to
and they
watch.
are doing Brad
So-
Brad on this one? Brad is on this one? Okay.
Yeah.
'Cause I know
And is it
Luke Skywalker did the last movie.
Yeah. What is it? Don Mancini, the creator of Child's Play?
I think so, yeah.
Fast Fingers.
I get confused between Cascarelli and
Yeah.
Mancini.
I don't know. It's just a whole new look they've given him that's my little...
That's why I'm not sure.
Have you watched the last few?
I haven't watched it since Bride.
You missed some great things.
Did I?
Yeah.
Because I was in a theater and more
Mancini,
people were
yes.
laughing at Bride of Chucky than they were scared. So I was like...
Seed of Chucky takes the parody even further.
Okay.
But then it came back around with Curse and then Cult.
So
It's
Curse and
then
Cult. Okay.
Curse is great.
Yeah?
Curse is Brad's daughter.
Yes.
Right. Yes. I can't remember her name.
I think she's paraplegic.
Yeah.
And it's like her stuck with her family in this like old decrepit house and everything.
Right.
It goes back to basics.
Oh,
you don't
okay.
even hear Chucky talk for quite a bit.
And they still got that old school look of the doll, right? And those?
There's a little bit of reinvention on that.
Okay. But not like the last movie.
Yeah. Cult's insane, which fits because it's in a mental asylum.
Oh, well, there you go.
But that one added a whole lot to it. And as far as I know, last I heard, the series is building off of what Cult did, because Cult had a big cliffhanger and a complete reinvention.
Oh, okay.
Of the movie.
Huh.
But anyways.
So, needless to say, anything that is now pretty much in the mainstream pop culture, we are
So that would include Army of
casting
Darkness.
off. No.
No, I wouldn't go quite
wouldn't
with
go
Army
with
of
that.
Darkness because I don't know if you were
I
in a
was-
public
I was
setting.
just in a
culture.
discussion about Army of Darkness yesterday morning, and someone that I know that watches horror movies had no idea about it.
Well, and that's what I'm
Yeah.
saying. If you're in like a group of like 10 or 15 people, random people, you say Army of Darkness, 99% of those people are going to have no idea what you're talking about.
That was a complete bomb. Like, it didn't make millions at the box office.
Well,
it made
no,
thousands.
but I mean,
Right.
for our generation growing up, that was our
Well, yeah.
cult
But
following.
if you were to say go to Walmart or something right now, people may have heard of Evil Dead because of the remake, but generally they're not going to know.
Yeah.
Which kind of puts it into that. You've got its following and people that are diehard. That movie is the bomb. And
yeah. And as far as like the quotation goes, that is a one-liner factory of a movie.
Oh, yeah.
Did we already count out Saw?
I don't know if I'd put Saw.
If we were in an alternate world where Saw didn't get all those sequels, like one per year,
right?
Then maybe.
And now with the new spinoff Spiral,
which was
it was great.
Spiral was
great.
Very good.
Very good.
Very well written.
I was so impressed with Chris Rock in that movie.
Yes. But you have this.
Paul evidently was not.
You have these lists of like these movies, and there's Insidious is one that's on the list, which doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me of why it would be on the list.
It did fairly well at the box office. Got sequels immediately.
But see, those were also like big budget films.
Yeah. They were.
So I don't. You can't really. I think it's more the independent.
Yeah,
is where you can find
as much
great cult
as much
classics.
as I love James Wan, I think the only movies of his that could even begin to qualify that weren't like because they weren't insanely popular or like at least popular enough.
Yeah,
would be Dead Silence,
right,
and Death Sentence. Those are the only two movies of his that I think didn't get their following immediately.
Right. Just thinking about it, one that I didn't see on any of the lists we did our research on, Cabin Fever. I would call that one.
Yep.
Some people really like it.
Yeah. But it didn't do great in the box office. Wasn't a big budget film.
I would say probably Cabin in the Woods too.
I was really Cabin in the Woods had
that's another big budget.
That one,
it was
I could go either. I could go either
at
way.
The Office.
I really could go either way on Cabin in the Woods.
But Cabin Fever, you got the original, and then just a couple of years later, you got a remake.
10 years.
Which
is there was Cabin Fever 2 in between.
Is that Patient Zero, or was there
that was another one.
Another one.
Cabin Fever 2. Then they did the remake, and then they did Patient Zero, and I think there's another one now.
Okay.
Patient Zero was great, though.
Was it?
Yes, it had Sam Wise, whatever. I cannot think of actors' names today.
Okay, so I didn't know this, and I'm going to have to find this. But there is a family-friendly version of Cabin Fever that is a happy family G-rated version of Cabin Fever that doesn't have all the blood and gore.
So there's not a disease?
I have no idea.
How can you watch Cabin Fever without the shaving scene?
I don't know, but that's what I'm saying.
You don't like the
I do not like the shaving scene. No.
Were you afraid it was going to happen
when
you shaved?
I wasn't afraid of it. It just makes me gag a little bit.
Okay.
I would have thought it was falling in the bathwater.
It's pretty nasty.
The sex scene is the one that would have made me gag a little more than the shaving scene.
I don't know what I feel about the works of Mr. Eli Roth. Every time I hear him in an interview, he's such a laid-back, grounded dude. And I really want to like his movies.
Yeah. Well, I guess we can.
Some of them are just
Green Inferno.
Yeah, I mean that wasn't a terrible movie, but it was not fantastic.
I've seen Hostel more than a few times.
See, I haven't watched any of the Hostels because
I've seen. There's how many? 2?
I think I've seen clips,
3?
but not
3.
Entire.
I've seen all 3.
All right.
She's baying at the moon.
Okay, then. Cool.
Cat howling tonight, as opposed to
demon
Cooper
dogs.
yodeling.
Yeah. Hostel. I will say Hostel and Cabin in the Woods. I could almost agree.
Right.
Like Hostel got some buzz whenever it first came out, but doesn't feel like it's a movie that tracked in recent years.
No.
So you started it.
But yeah, it just Eli Roth is almost hit or miss.
Yeah.
And I kind of feel the same way a little bit with Adam Green. Because I would almost put the Hatchets in the classics.
I would definitely, even though there's 4 of them, they're all like independent and they all flew under the mainstream radar.
Because didn't the last 2 just come straight to video?
Yeah.
Hatchet 3 and Victor Crowley.
Did you watch Victor Crowley?
I've not watched that one yet. I've seen the first 3.
It's like it's like a self-parody of the whole franchise in a completely different filming style.
What I love about it is Kane playing Victor.
Yeah. I don't know. For Hatchet movies, I love Tony Todd as Dr. Voodoo.
Oh, he's great. He's great.
Okay, so let's talk about movies that we think should be on the list of cult classics.
Okay. So my personal belief is the really obscure ones are what I always consider the cult classics.
Well, I mean, they have to have a fan base.
Like Killer Clowns from Outer Space. Those kind of off the wall, really low budget, but has such a huge following. That's kind of where I get the cult classic. Attacking the Killer Tomatoes, Troll 2, and all those.
There's some that get wide releases that don't track whenever they first pop out. I mean, Army of Darkness played nationally, but it didn't get the footing there,
right?
Even if it was a sequel.
I definitely Toxic Avenger. I'd throw that into that obscure kind of super cult I don't know. Maybe it's super cult classics versus just cult classics,
right?
You got your teenagers showing, Mike.
I'm sorry. Sorry, it's like hyper cult. Man.
All this stuff is too popular. You hadn't heard of that. This is a great film.
Yeah, it's a great film. Yeah. I think 2 people watched it. It's cool.
I'm admitting my biases, though. Yeah, Heather shared the first list, and when she shared the first list, it was all the pretentious cult classics, and I'm like, wow, I've seen like 90% of these movies.
Well, and I've seen, I can honestly say I had not seen a lot of these, but this week I'm pretty sure I watched between 15 and 20 cult classic movies.
Yeah,
and just one right after the other, and there were some great, and there were some really bad.
That was like me with the clown show. I watched like probably 6 or 7 clown shows in like 3 days.
Yeah.
Wishing I hadn't watched some of them.
Well, I mean, none of the ones that I watched really I wish I hadn't watched that.
Right.
There was a couple that I'm like, I will never watch that again.
Yeah.
What?
The Beyond.
So my experience with The Beyond came from I had a friend that I was a pen pal with when I was in high school. He was a Canadian who moved to Korea to teach English, and we became friends because we traded DVDs online.
Ah, there you go.
But one of the first things was I bought the limited edition of The Beyond, and I was like, I'm never watching this again. And he was super happy that I was trading it, and he sent me some Korean movies, some of my favorites actually that have been. And
for those who don't know, The Beyond is about a lady, a girl, a young woman who inherits a old hotel in Louisiana. That is the basement is supposed to be a gateway to hell.
Yes.
So
everything in Louisiana is a gateway to hell.
It does.
The first 20 minutes are pretty solid.
They're pretty solid, and then it just goes off the rails and completely abandons the plot of the whole movie.
Well,
it's just
well, I don't think we've talked about a very popular horror director, Lucio Fulci, on this podcast before.
I think we talk about Argento a lot more.
Yeah. Well, Fulci has his fans, and Heather watched 2 of his movies on that list because she watched The Beyond and Zombie, which is actually Zombie 2 in Italy.
Yes.
Yeah. Zombie is mainly known for a very violent scene involving an eyeball.
Well,
yes.
Yeah.
It was gross.
That was in that documentary we were watching.
Yep.
Italians and eyeballs.
Yeah.
The Beyond. I could have said this. I could have said this to Heather before she even started watching it. And I think basically from what she said, I think we're in agreement. It's like it's really half a good movie, and then it gets to witches, curses, and stuff, and like hell breaking loose, and you get these bizarro kill scenes, which are inventive, but they go on so long that like the suspense drains from the movie.
Oh,
like there's like a scene with like spiders killing a person, and it goes on for like 7 minutes or something.
It's long, and you're going, whoa.
So like,
okay,
it's just
done.
Like violent. I'm like, I'm no longer scared. I'm just kind of bored.
I'm done with the spiders. Can we move on?
So is it kind of like a Rob Zombie film? It starts out with this one plot point, and then like 2/3 of the way through, you're like, wait, what happened?
If you're into makeup effects and splatter and stuff like that, I will say it's probably worth watching for it.
Yeah.
My opinion, Fulci keeps doing that. Like, he wants to show off the special effects, and the pacing will kind of get ruined for it, in my opinion.
Right.
Like, I get why people love his movies, though.
Yeah.
He can do some atmosphere.
Right.
A lot of the spaghetti horror was like that, though. A lot of the over-the-top effects and the blood and the eyeballs and
Bruno Mattei definitely fits in that as well.
Yeah,
I watched a couple with the eyeballs, and
we know what you like about eyeballs too.
No.
Well, there are a few movies from the 80s that like are basically remembered for one shot involving an eyeball.
Yeah.
Because Maniac's kind of known for that.
It's true.
And
the opening scene to the Reanimator.
Yeah.
Reanimator's known for one more scene.
Yes.
A little bit more.
Yeah.
But the opening scene that he's given him and then his eyeballs are all when they just start they squirt all over the nurse or
Reanimator has enough going for it that it's not just known for that, though.
Yeah, it's Jeffrey Combs.
I mean, that was.
I enjoyed it.
Yeah, that was.
I hadn't seen it before. I mean, we've talked about it before, but I had never really seen it, and so I decided I would watch it, and that's what I watched today. And I was like, this is not terrible.
Now, is Bride the sequel?
Yeah, Bride is the second one. Beyond is the third.
Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't know which one was.
I hadn't gotten that far yet.
Yeah.
But
Bride. I really like Bride, but Bride is kind of melodramatic a little bit.
Yeah.
It's kind of like. It kind of tries to do the Bride of Frankenstein to Reanimator.
Oh, yeah.
Beyond is just crazy. Set in a prison.
Ooh, fun.
So
since we're talking about body horror, can we put the Centipede in this category?
That would definitely apply.
That movie's so gross.
I know people that love those movies.
Yes.
I know.
If we had Joe on the podcast, he'd
be all about it.
It wasn't a terrible
the first
movie,
and the third,
but
he actually defends. The second, not so much.
The second one was
I've only
horrific.
Seen 1.5, and I have not seen
dude
the third
in
one.
his
Potential of the second
underwear
one.
and
I mean,
The second one was way creepier with that dude.
Yeah,
I will say the potential of the second one is so much higher by making it meta.
Yeah.
Like having it being the killer inspired by the first movie and everything. I'm like, that. It's a unique premise.
It's a lot grosser
Very.
than the second one is way grosser than the first one.
That was
it took me about 4 tries to get through that movie.
I didn't watch the prison one with like 500 inmates.
Yeah.
the whole prison yard of
I didn't do the third. I didn't get to the third one.
A to M.
I didn't. So.
Yeah.
But.
So, out of the 15 to 20 movies that you watched, what were the ones that you liked, Heather?
Deep Red. Deep Red was probably my top one. An Argento.
Giallo.
Yes, very good. I enjoyed it a lot. About a pianist who witnesses a murder and then goes on this hunt to find the murderer. And you get to the end and you're like...
Some of it doesn't age well. His best friend's admission of being a homosexual transvestite gets real off the rails. You go, oh, this doesn't look good today.
Now you know.
They always had that super hyper red blood during that time.
Oh yeah. And there's a lot of it.
Yes.
Well, Suspiria is even more than Deep Red is.
Is it?
But yeah, because Suspiria is a Technicolor nightmare. So
And I still haven't got
yeah.
to see Suspiria because
I got it in 4K.
Paul keeps
Y'all
telling me he's
y'all
going to have it
come
in
over and
4K.
watch it.
Because if you
and-
ask Chris, how many gallons of blood are there in a body?
Well, it depends. Are we doing like a mini, a doc, or are we doing a full?
If you took a human
If we
body
took
and
a
you
human
drained
body
it, how much would it
I
be?
rammed something in him for the movie, how many gallons of blood are there?
10.
10?
10 gallons of blood.
10.
And in Italy during that time period, I think there were 80.
Yeah,
Yeah.
pretty much.
Yeah.
Tokyo,
Another-
not maybe that much. In Tokyo, about that much too. A little bit different color.
What's Robert Rodriguez's segment on Grindhouse, Planet Terror?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Everybody has no bones, and it's like 90
Nine.
gallons of blood.
Yeah.
And another 50 gallons of pus.
Yeah.
Another one that I watched that was I got through a few Argentos was Tenebrae, which was a really good one about an
Yeah.
author and he's being harassed by a serial killer. It was really good. I actually watched it when I was sick with COVID, and then I rewatched it this week, and I remembered how much I enjoyed it. You know, I really agree with Paul. I really like Argento films. They're
Well, that's why
they're
he's
visually
considered
pleasing.
a mastermind.
They're good.
They're very, very visually pleasing.
Yes.
The one thing I'll say that if people don't know to look out for if they've never watched an Italian film, especially one from like the 60s to 80s, they didn't care about getting everybody. They would hire talent based on looks and prestige
Yeah.
versus actual
Talent.
performance.
Right.
Yeah.
So, like Suspiria, they're like one of the most classic scenes is Jessica Harper, the main actress, is being introduced to all of her other dancers, and in that one scene alone, you have her speaking in American English.
Uh-huh.
She's talking to someone else that's speaking French. That person that she's talking to is speaking Italian, and then there's another Russian woman,
Yeah.
and they all spoke their own languages on
Yes.
the set because the fact of the matter is, Argento said, "I'm going to dub it all in anyways."
Right. Right. But the Italian films were really just beautifully shot and so colorful.
Yes.
Which then you start seeing it move into some of the later 80s films, all the color and the brightness and stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
They're definitely pretty.
Yeah, if we were talking cult classics, for me, that was my experience whenever I got into high school and like just started randomly picking movies off of the VHS shelf back in the day.
Right.
Like that's how I found Demons and
Yeah.
all that type of stuff. And I'm just like, I get why they have fan bases. Some of them I don't like nearly as much. Argento just spoke to me almost immediately.
Yeah.
I loved Suspiria. I loved Opera. I loved Deep Red. But
Well, that's pretty much how we picked movies anyway
either
back
the
then. We
eyeballs or
just
the
walked
blood,
in and
just
picked up
fess
the
up to
cover
it.
and went,
Opera,
this looks awesome.
Opera has an eyeball thing. The cover has needles sticking through
See?
eyelids.
Just admit it, Paul. You got a thing for the eyeballs.
Thing for the eyeballs. Speaking of eyeballs.
You keep staring at me. What? So I love Audition. That is one of my top faves. And there are several instances in the movie that are my favorite. The eyeball is one of them.
Yeah.
The part where she puts all the
Needles.
acupuncture pins into his chest and then slides over them. I mean, that was kind of just, yeah.
Heather loves needles.
Heather has a terrible fear of needles, and
See,
that movie just
Here's the thing. I
Made me
have
squirm.
tattoos, but I hate needles.
made me squirm.
I don't like needles.
But not only that, we're going to take a piano wire and saw off his ankle.
Yes. Love that. And the whole little kit that she lays him on to, love it.
Yeah.
The only thing I hated about it was that, she killed the dog.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You just
see, there
kinda-
were other
Modest
points.
spoilers
I
for the
just can't
Yeah.
do it.
right.
There were other points in that film that are so great, though.
Oh,
like
yes. The
little-
ballet
the
scene.
little trash bag, just the quick
Yeah.
little glimpse of it, but it moves, and you're like, what the fuck was that?
Yeah,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
you
Well,
never
it-
really see
right.
until
Well, the
pretty
movie
much
does a
mid-sense.
great job of just smoke screening you because
yes.
there's so much that is kind of delightful, and you start hoping for the both characters to
Right.
come out of it all right.
But no.
No.
This one is all in Japanese.
Yes.
Yeah.
So you can get a
But it is subbed.
Yeah.
you can get a sub, but you can't find a dubbed.
No.
No.
So just an aside, just a quick aside for anybody that's fine with the subtitle films. If you haven't experienced the world of Takashi Miike, the director of Audition, that's probably one of his more. This is going to sound weird if you haven't watched a lot of Miike. This is going to be one of his more crowd-pleasing movies. Is Audition?
Yeah, it's very tame compared to some of his other stuff.
Because Ichi the Killer is so much worse.
I was just
so worse.
Yes,
but another one that I just find delightful that is bizarro is Happiness of the Katakuris, which is a remake of the Korean film The Quiet Family, I think.
Pretty much.
It was just like a family that runs a motel where guests keep dying on them.
Yep.
And they have to start disposing of bodies, and then there's a zombie dance sequence in the middle of the movie. That movie is so delightful. And that one is so cheesy and culty and great.
That is one of my go-tos. Another I guess as far as cult horror movies go, I mean, I liked Sucked. That's one of my cult ones, and everybody's like, yeah.
I will speak in favor of it. I enjoyed it.
Thank you.
I did not. I'm
there's
sorry.
Also, all the Sharknadoes.
That was some high camp. That is some enjoyable camp.
It was campy.
I love it. I really liked Constantine. I know it's not,
Peter Stormare as the devil is a solid casting choice.
Yes.
I love them.
Yeah.
Cult movies tend for me to be the ones that are like nobody loves and everybody wants to pick apart, and
they're the ugly stepchild.
They are the ugly stepchildren, and I'm just like, I adore it. I love it. Let's pop it in.
So if Heather's going to bring that up, she watched one that I don't even know if he classifies as horror.
Eraserhead.
Yeah, that's
it gets
kind
listed
of
in horror a lot.
I mean, it is. It's got some nightmarish things. But I will say one thing. I saw a snippet of an interview with David Lynch, which those always delight me. Listening to David Lynch talk about his movies. Yeah. Because he's like super artsy and out there, but he sounds like a aged Boy Scout from the Midwest, because that's what he is.
Right.
So whenever it got to Eraserhead, before you get to talking about it, there was like one little snippet that I saw where he said, now the interviewer was like, I think he was British. He was like, so you say, you said, it's like, well, I consider Eraserhead to be my most spiritual film. And the interviewer was like, would you care to explain that? No.
Yeah. Yeah. So it took me 2 tries to get through this movie. The first time I didn't make it very far because it's very visceral. Mm-hmm. Uh-huh. There's not a lot of dialogue. Nope. There's a lot of there's a lot of background, like it's almost like static or buzzing or.
You didn't tell me what you thought about the happy chipmunk cheek lady that lives in the radiator.
Oh my god! So I'm pretty sure
with her pop hit in heaven.
I wish that Chad could have recorded my face the whole time I'm watching this movie, because it was like he's okay. So the premise of this movie is that Henry, the main character, he tries to survive in an industrial environment. Mm-hmm. His angry girlfriend. Yep. And the unbearable screams of a newly born mutant child is the description of this movie.
And for those that don't know what Eraserhead is, what makes it over the top creepy, it's all shot in black and white.
It's all black and white. It's all
grainy.
It's very grainy. There's not a lot of music to it. It's definitely. So starting off, I started this movie the first time, and I only got about 15 minutes in. And I'm like, I didn't even get to the good part. So then I'm like, I've got to get through this movie. So I sat down and I was watching this movie. and you get Henry, who's creepy enough on his own, and then he goes to the in-laws and the little dancing chickens that ooze the stuff. It just was like, ooh, gross.
Yeah.
The oozy chickens.
Oozy chickens.
They're like teeny tiny little birds that he starts to cuddle.
Yeah.
And then the mom is like, wants to know if have you had sexual intercourse with my daughter?
Oh,
and then she starts sucking his face.
Yep.
And then they have this baby that almost mews. It's like, it is. Paul goes, what did you think of the baby? And I'm like, the fuck, that's a baby. That is not a baby.
What it really makes me think of is Babette in Nightbreed when she starts to transform.
Oh, yeah.
They look very similar.
Yeah, the weird chipmunk lady that lives in the radiator.
It's a cult classic. Nightbreed, I would definitely qualify.
Yeah.
Was when she's singing and the little alien things start dropping from the the sky, and then she starts smushing them.
Yep.
And it's very, the sound of the squishing is it's stomach turning, but it was. Am I glad I watched it? I guess. Will I watch it ever again? Absolutely not, because it haunts my dreams.
I've got some other David Lynch movies for you to watch.
Okay. I'll see how much more they haunt my dreams.
Well, so the thing about David Lynch movies that qualify is like Lost Highway shows up on this list.
Yeah.
And I'm like, Lost Highway is a artsy crime movie, but I will say it has one of the creepiest scenes outside of what I consider a horror movie.
Okay.
And it makes no frickin' sense. And I think it's the reason it's so creepy. Why can't I think of his name? The guy that played Beretta that got involved in the murder case.
Robert
Blake. There we go.
Okay.
Yeah. So he's in that movie with a whole bunch of white face makeup, super menacing, super creepy. He comes to Bill Pullman at a party, and he says, "I'm at your house right now." And he's like, What are you talking about? It's like, I'm at your house right now. It's like, okay, sure, whatever, but no, call me. And he hands him a phone. He calls his home. He says hello, and then it's Robert Blake laughing on the other end of the line and in front of him.
Yeah.
And it'll just like that is so uncomfortable and creepy. But I'm like, I don't even begin to understand what this is doing right now. And Mulholland Drive, also not really a horror movie, but it's got the Goblin King hobo behind the diner. That is a very uncomfortable, menacing scene. Yeah. All of a sudden, out of nowhere.
It's been a long time since I've seen that movie.
Yeah, it's been a while.
It's got a fantastic soundtrack.
Oh yeah,
the soundtrack is
produced by Nothing Records and Trent Reznor. So you got a lot of Nine Inch Nails and Marilyn Manson and Rammstein and
it's great.
Yeah.
A movie that definitely qualifies for this, and props to my cousin for forcing me to watch it again because I did not like it way back when. Popcorn?
Oh, yeah.
Yes, that is a horror movie's dream of a cult movie.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
It's got so much intertwined into it. Because it makes me think like they tried to do a rendition, modernized version of Phantom of the Opera. A bit.
The plot, for people who don't know, it's a college film group that is staging a whole bunch of old horror movies, and there's someone killing people in the theater after they discover this like cult snuff film thing from an urban legend.
Right.
Yeah.
But then I love how they set up the theater like kind of like a William Castle type theater.
Yes, they got all the props and everything.
Chairs,
some mishaps that happened.
I love the giant mosquito. Love the giant mosquito.
Yeah.
Another one on this list that I don't think that you and Chris have seen, but I know Paul and I have seen it because we watched it together, was Eyes Without a Face.
Right. No, I haven't watched that one.
That's a French horror movie, and it's what Billy Idol's song "Eyes Without a Face" is based on.
Eyes
without a face.
Don't sue us, Billy Idol.
Please don't. It was a fantastic song. But it's about a surgeon who causes an accident that disfigures his daughter's face. And so he's going to these extreme lengths to get her a new face.
Right.
And it's all in French. It's subtitled. It's black and white. But it was... It was solid.
Would you consider the Antonio Banderas one a remake of it?
It's definitely in the style of The Skin I Live In.
Yeah.
It's got a different enough plot that it's not directly a remake.
Oh, okay.
But
on the same basis.
That's an Almodovar film. His movies are uncomfortable on their own terms.
Yeah.
This is true.
One that's on the list that I really enjoy and have for years, American Werewolf in London.
That was a good one, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. That one's definitely a good one.
That whole transformation scene is, I mean, still can't be topped, I don't think, unless you do it in CGI.
Right.
I don't think it'll get practical that way again.
There, and then there's some on this list that I have seen that make me just uncomfortable.
Like which?
Cannibal Holocaust.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Chris and I watched that together.
But they didn't wait for me.
We did not.
We could not.
We watched it,
Yeah.
and it got to the point where I felt like I needed a shower after I watched it. I just felt dirty watching
I don't think
it.
Scrubbing ourselves with Brillo would have worked.
It was just-
Did you need the
such-
Silkwood cage?
It was just
Did we need what?
uncomfortable.
The Silkwood bath?
But the thing is that you know how fake it is.
Well,
Most of it, except for a couple of it.
For us,
Okay.
for us as a group,
Humanly
watching.
fake.
humanly fake,
Yes.
but there are acceptable losses with the animals.
Yes.
on
Yeah, they
screen.
had like a list of animals. They had one turtle, one pig, one
Monkey.
Yeah.
Which I mean, they fed it to the tribe afterwards.
Right,
So
so-
there's some concession to be made from that, but the ways that the animals were dispatched still fall into the cruelty.
That was
Yes.
still, yeah.
Because there's a movie I like called Walkabout. Also features animal death on screen. I forgot how much until I watched it recently. But I'm like, that one is an Aboriginal actor who just so happened to be hunting, and
Yeah.
they brought it back to the tribe. So if they weren't filming, that would still happen.
Right.
Right.
So
True.
So, but with Cannibal Holocaust, when it came out, the director had all of the actors go into hiding. Well, then he was arrested because they all thought that the actors were actually dead, and so he had to actually produce the actors in the movie so that he wouldn't go to prison for killing these people.
in a foreign court, wasn't
In a
it?
foreign-
Yeah,
because
it's
it
in
was
a foreign
England.
court.
Yeah.
No,
Was it?
I don't think so. I don't think it was in America. I think it was in a foreign court.
it was a foreign court. But
Well, I mean, the
think it
director's
was in-
Italian.
Yeah,
I think it was in an Italian court.
Well, he is Italian.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
I could
'cause some of that-
have sworn he had to go to another country. But
Yeah. Because some of those scenes really took me back to watching Faces of Death.
Yeah.
With the
Yes.
monkey kills and yeah.
So, Faces of Death. It's not one that ever really appears on any of these lists.
it's not really a movie.
It's
No,
really not.
it's a series,
but I had never
kind of.
I had never really heard of it. And we
Seriously?
listen.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Listen, Linda.
Listen, Linda. Listen, Lisa.
So I was in high school, and I was in drill team, and we had this huge drill team sleepover. Well, one of the movies that we watched was Faces of Death. Ugh.
First tape?
Was
The first tape?
yes.
I saw all four.
Yes, I have two. I've seen all four, but it was the monkey one that really just got me. Just kind of.
And there are some of those you watch and you like, that's got to be real.
Yeah.
Like the guy with the screwdriver in the middle ward or whatever.
It's just one of those things that it's fake, but to the
It was never promoted as fake.
No, it
That's
was
why you could
promoted as
only find
real.
like bootleg copies.
Yes.
of it. You could
Like
never
somebody-
find the actual
somebody-
because
tape.
it was
sister had a copy
promoted
or-
like a snuff film.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much.
It was very much felt like a snuff film.
No, it
It
was the heavy.com of its era.
Yes. Yes. But yeah.
But see, I'm a wee bit older than you. So back in my day, it was like, I can't get my hand on it. Who's got it? And asking everybody, and they're like, "Well, I think I got a buddy that's got a copy of it."
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
no, we had it at one of our local stores. Here.
What? Here?
Yep.
Here or there?
No, here.
Here.
What?
There was a store here?
Yes.
Oh my God.
Yes. And when I was in elementary school, when we lived here before we moved off, my mom actually worked there.
Because the one over by Steamboat High School, where the physical therapy place is, there was a theater or a video store there. I think they had it back in the beyond the curtain room.
Yeah.
Yeah, they had their horror movies off kind of way back in a dark corner, but they did have it.
Huh.
Yeah.
So.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yep.
And that video store lasted years. It was there a long time, and then
Is that the
it
one
closed.
That was the old theater?
In the old theater, yes.
Okay, because I'd heard
and
there was one there.
They had reopened it under a different name, and it didn't do so well. But yeah.
Yeah. It was. Yeah. But I remember that being, that's the word of mouth one, especially I remember from high school.
Right. Yeah.
Because I remember talking about that with people like during classes and stuff. And you're just like, some people like really swore by it. Like, he's like, yeah, you got to watch Face of Death if you're into horror and everything. And like, for me, I don't engage with horror that way.
Yeah.
So whenever it's like something that purports, it's like a real snuff film, I'm like, I don't want to see that. It's like, well, I thought you were into horror. I'm like, that doesn't mean I want to see that.
There's a difference in watching like a snuff film and watching a horror movie.
Yeah.
Which I think is where 8mm kind of teeters on that horror line.
Yes. And the thing for me is that Cannibal Holocaust, sorry.
Hannibal Holocaust.
Hannibal Holocaust. And Faces of Death, they felt very snuff film to me, and Serbian film felt very. It just there's a lot of films that are
a classification for Serbian film.
Gross.
Well, in the British rating board, there is.
Yeah, it's got its own classification, but things like that feel very snuff film for me, and they're not something that I particularly enjoy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I think that's why I have less of an affinity for stuff like Saw and Hostel, Turistas.
Torture porn.
You said you hadn't seen Hostel.
I've seen parts.
Okay, because I was about to say Hostel is not what you'd think it is if you just knew it by reputation or whatever. It's got some story. It becomes a revenge movie at the end.
It does.
The one scene that I have seen the most is there's like this naked chick in a tub. She's got a body above her. She slices it open, and she's just like bathing in the blood as it drips on her.
Very Elizabeth Bathory kind of.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of that in there, and there's a lot of
there's like another scene where they like cut his ankle off or something.
There's no violence until 40 to 5 minutes in, 50 minutes.
There's a lot of story,
honestly, the movie makes you hate the main characters until they get to
the warehouse.
It's like it's sort of designed that way because it's typical American tourists not giving a crap about the culture, where they're at, and all that type of stuff.
Yeah. Because isn't there a scene where one of them's like chained to a chair and they cut his ankles off?
Yep. But there's not. That is only just a smidgen of the movie. Like,
I love Takashi Miike's cameo in it.
Yes, and then it turns to be a revenge movie at the end, and then you've got the bathroom scene at the very end of the movie.
Yeah,
and
Turistas is kind of on that level too, isn't it?
I know that movie has its followers. I've seen it. It's been a little while though.
Yeah. I haven't seen that movie in a long time.
Yeah.
But okay. So
I always confuse it with. I know it's a completely different movie, but I confuse it with The Ruins whenever I'm just hear the title.
Oh, I love The Ruins.
But The Ruins is I really do
with the
like
vines.
Yeah.
I was actually surprised to find out that The Ruins was produced by.
Dun, 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 dun.
He's a comedian. Tropic Thunder.
Ben Stiller?
Yes. His production company produced The Ruins.
Okay.
And I was like, your comedy company? Okay, sure. And then he was like, "Well, we give everybody a chance at, we love movies." Mm-hmm. I was like, "All right, cool."
Okay, so we've talked about snuff type films. Mike's being attacked by a fly.
Yes.
We've talked about kind of mainstream ones that really shouldn't be. Yeah. What about the super campy ones?
Yeah.
Like Tourist Trap. So I had never seen Tourist Trap until this week. Mm-hmm. I couldn't help but laugh. And I text Paul and I'm like, man, that opening kill is super goofy. He was like, well, what did you really expect? I'm like, I expected it to be goofy, but just not that quick.
Yeah.
Just like I wasn't expecting that much. Oh, what's the word? Not goofy. Much.
I don't remember.
Satire, parody,
campy, cheesy. It was very cheesy.
Okay. Yeah.
But it was good. I watched it all the way through. I enjoyed it. I can see where House of Wax is based on that.
Yeah.
That's the one thing. It's like the House of Wax remake is a remake of Tourist Trap.
It definitely is. It most definitely is. But
and I think on that same level, you can put Transylvania 65000,
mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
Saturday the 14th. Yeah.
Rocky Horror. Shock Treatment.
Yeah.
The follow up to Rocky Horror.
Yeah. Hit you like a real live wire.
Hit you like a real live wire.
What about Repo? You throw that in there on that?
Yeah.
Yes.
That one. So we talked about the fact, like before we started recording, you take contention with movies that are too new being put into these lists of cult classics.
I think it's because of the term classics.
I think there are some exceptions for movies that start almost bottom of the barrel, like have to fight to get audiences that I'm almost immediately start tracking.
Yeah.
Because Repo went from me not knowing it at all, it coming out on video, and then by year 2, people were doing shadow casts.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
Like it was fast,
right?
Yeah.
And
like of course I bought it and I showed it to 6 people in like a month.
Yeah.
Well, and until Paul and I really became friends and started talking, I had never even heard of Repo the Genetic Opera, and so then I've watched it and it is absolutely one of my favorites.
Yeah.
See, and I didn't know about it until you started singing songs from it and paraphrasing, and I was like, "What the hell is she talking about?" She was going off the freaking deep end. And then she was like, "No, you have to sit and watch it." I was like, "What? No." And then I sat there and I watched it and I freaking loved it. And I think I sent her a text that had the entire song on it.
Yes.
And I was like, "Oh my God, I get it." But yeah, and
the Zydrate song.
I love that one.
Maybe a soundtrack for your stocking stuffer this year.
I know another one, and I'm gonna get some in the audience. Sweeney Todd. I loved Sweeney Todd.
I did too. The Demon Barber of Fleet Street.
Yes.
Now, are we talking the Johnny Depp movie, the stage play? Because I've seen both. The stage play.
So I haven't seen the stage play yet, so don't spoil it for me. But I hear it's good.
It depends on who you ask and if you are tone deaf.
I am not tone deaf, so that might be an issue.
I gotta be honest, I don't think they sing well in the Burden version.
They do not, but the stage play, the one that plays the girl locked up, Joanna.
The way it was written by Sondheim on stage is that's supposed to be a vibrato, like a vibrato soprano.
Yes.
So high pitch.
Okay. So when she sings and she goes to hit the high notes in the stage play, she ends up being cross-eyed.
Yeah.
Getting to those high notes.
Well, to be fair, the thing is to be fair. So what Burden's version, like, I don't dislike Burden's version, but I think it's funny that someone who usually is all about character, he took away all the comedy.
He really did.
He took away all the comedy because that play is full of it.
Yes, it really is.
And it's just the funniest thing in Burden's version is by the sea.
Yes.
Because they still kept Sweeney Todd being sort of annoyed by her. But for the rest of it, there's like supposed to be like broad expressions, like and it's, eye rolls and all this type of stuff.
But it's very the Burton one is very kind of one note and it's all dark.
Yes.
The stage play
that's every Burton film ever.
Well, yes, but
Pee-wee's Big Adventure.
Yeah.
There were dark undertones in that.
But with the stage play, it was very very comedic, and Angela Lansbury plays Mrs. Lovett.
Okay, see, now I have to see it because of her.
She's amazing.
She is amazing in that. She plays a fantastic Mrs. Lovett. So
yeah. See, I haven't seen it, so I'll have to watch it now. But I liked Sweeney Todd.
Me and Paul and Wendy watched it one night.
And I had to keep enduring them just sitting there like riffing on it the whole time.
Yeah.
I was like, all right.
Oh my God.
Okay.
They got to these high notes. They got to these high notes, and it was like the nails on the chalkboard. I'm going, oh God, ow.
Well, surprise, I haven't seen it. I almost watched it.
No. So here's the thing. Here's the difference between he didn't watch it and he almost. When they started singing,
I was done.
He was out.
I was done.
Well, the Burton version.
Yeah.
He was just like, they're singing in this.
Through
No.
channels and came across like HBO or something, and I see Johnny Depp and I see a barber chair. I'm like, okay, this is the film. It was already playing. I don't know how far along it was in it, but he's got this guy in the chair.
There's no place like I'm out.
And he
that's exactly how it was. I was like, no, you gotta watch it. He's like, no, I do not.
He takes the straight razor, and he's like doing the sharpening thing. And it's all silent at this point, and he turns around.
Oh, so you're on the Joanna song.
Yes.
And he turns around, and he slashes the dude's throat, and blood starts gushing. I'm like, okay, this might be good. All right.
It's the
and
very
then he
first
flips
kill.
the guy over, and I was like, nope, done.
Like wheat.
Yes.
Done. Okay.
Yeah, it was really good. I actually, the first time I was more interested in the effects, so of course I'm sitting there like a little kid with their eyes, I'm just like, I want the barber chair. I want the razors. And then all of a sudden I was like, okay, I got to watch this again because there's shit I missed.
So, okay. So
I've watched it about 5 times.
We're going to talk about makeup on that movie. Then I'm going to do the elephant in the room.
Oh.
That's a lot of CG.
A lot.
Yes.
That is so much CG.
There is a lot of CG in it. There is a lot of CG. One of the main things that I loved that I still want to do, the barber chair. I actually have the plans to make one.
It'd be great in a haunted house.
Yeah,
I just got to find an old one.
With the trap door, just there goes the
have
body.
somebody really like go down in there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Fantastic.
I don't know that So Burton, there aren't really a whole lot of movies that hit these lists. They put Sleepy Hollow in there.
Sleepy Hollow, it's kind of a hit or miss.
It got a wide release, but it definitely didn't track.
No,
it did not.
And I consider that quintessential Burton.
Yes.
Oh, yes.
Like it has every hallmark of his style is in that movie.
That and Frankenweenie are like the top 2 that you have to watch of his, and then
that was
you go
about the
into
time that
Nightmare.
he got to where
that.
he started enjoying squirting the blood on Johnny because Johnny hated it.
Yeah.
When he's cutting the tree.
Well, yeah, and then like he's like sitting there like prodding the bodies and stuff.
Yeah. But the reactions that he gave on some of them, especially the blood splatters, those were actually not planned. Those were pure him getting squirt and not liking it.
Yeah.
Another one that is very musical is The Wicker Man.
Oh dear God!
You like that movie, Paul?
I do.
I do too. I enjoyed it too. I watched it first.
Cage, man.
We have
no.
We do have a previous podcast where we talk about this movie.
No.
Actually,
it was a watch and review
on it.
We did a watch and review on it. It was the first time I'd seen it. So during my marathon cult classic watching this week, I decided I would rewatch that. That was the very first one that I watched. Yes, and I was at work. And
wait, you watched The Wicker Man at work?
I did.
How did you get away with that?
Because I sit in a corner and no one can see my computer screen.
She's hidden in the back room.
I'm in the very back. No one knows I'm back there.
Except your dad.
Yeah, so
I have headphones on and my computer screen is turned where he can't see it.
So for people that only know Nicolas Cage's Wicker Man, which it's somehow like all about women being evil.
It was totally not.
Yeah, but the original is all about pagan versus Christianity.
Yes.
And openness about sex.
Yes.
So I get a text from her while I'm at work that she's at work and watching Wicker Man, and she's like, I forgot about the outdoor sex orgy.
I forgot about the outdoor orgy.
And I'm like, that's the first instance of sex in that movie.
Well, but also, I don't remember watching the uncensored version.
That's
like
what
for
we
some
watched.
reason, my
That's what we
brain blocked out that. So when I was on my rewatch, I was going, wow. There is a lot of nudity and a lot of sex going on in this movie.
Well, what kills me is like what you were talking about. The scene you were specifically talking about, I'm like, it's in both cuts,
right?
Because you said it was like because I said, well, are you watching the uncut version? And you said, well, there's this orgy. I'm like, that doesn't really tell you anything. I'm like, does Christopher Lee deliver a young virgin boy to Britt Eklund outside and then do a poetry reading?
Oh my God.
Yes, he did. Very much he did.
Which is fun. Like the trivia behind that portion being cut from the movie, it has nothing to do with censorship. Really? No. The actual master print of that movie literally fell off the back of a truck.
Really?
Yep. Like the can, like as far as like from the promotional materials, it seems like what happened was like it popped open, got exposed, got ruined,
so they had to cut it out.
And for a little while, their print was like horribly like scratched up and stuff.
Shit.
So they had to like go back through archive and just miraculously save it.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just remember you going, we're going to watch The Wicker Man because you haven't seen it all the way. And I was like, no, I have not. And then I sat through it and I was like, oh my fucking God, 2 hours of my life I will never get back.
Well, I think one...
It was a pretty dynamic discussion, though.
It was.
It was a lot of Christian versus
I showed that to... I actually showed that to Wendy... so Wendy has a, doesn't have a whole background in horror, and her reaction to that movie is a good hour and 20. She was sort of enjoying the movie, but she was wondering why it was a horror movie.
Yeah.
She was just like, this is so like over the top and campy.
This is so fun.
This is so fun. And then it gets to the end.
Yeah.
And I'll if we're, we can go this podcast without spoiling it, but that movie has a left hook of an ending, like a complete tonal shift.
Oh my God, yeah.
And one that could, I think, potentially be on this list, just if it's not already falling into it, that'll go along those bases is Midsommar.
Yeah.
Which people refer to being very similar to.
Oh, he cited it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ari Aster cited it.
Yeah. Okay, so I got one that you guys may not consider, but I think should be on the list. Jaws. There's a deep
I think the contention on that one is big budget studio.
It's very much on the same lines as like Halloween.
Yeah.
Well, Jaws in particular has something I agree that it has a very ardent following. Like they are all about it. I'm kind of in there, because that I go neck and neck between Jurassic Park and Jaws, and which one is my favorite Spielberg movie.
Yeah. But if you think about it, though, Jaws, if you just go in the middle of Walmart, many people are going to know that's Jaws.
Well, Jaws, if you go to any film class, Jaws is noted as being the first blockbuster.
Right.
Like it is noted as starting the whole commercial era of movie going. So, like that.
Classic.
And Spielberg had already started climbing his rung to top director at that time, because he'd already had
Duel and Sugarland Express.
Did he do, was Close Encounter before or after?
After.
Was it after? Okay.
Yeah,
it must have been after.
But he was producing some movies too.
Yeah. So, I mean, he was already on his rise too. He wasn't like a little independent going, I want to make a movie about a shark.
Mm-hmm.
So what is your absolute top fave cult that if you had to pick from the mass variety, you could sit there and just watch it.
I'm going to go with the one we
it.
really didn't touch on that you mentioned, Nightbreed. We'll watch that forever. You know,
It's good.
It's Clive Barker, but it just didn't get the momentum that Hellraiser did.
Yeah.
It's great.
It also suffered from some studio edits.
Yes.
Like I'll be on. Like I actually flat out admit I have not watched the director's cut all the way through.
Oh, you need to.
I know.
The ending,
I keep meaning to, but I just
the
haven't.
ending is completely different.
Well, even the beginning, they got more foundation on the relationship between him and and Bobby, and I'm like that surprising. I didn't know she was a country singer.
Yeah, because they got this whole like scene in there where she's on stage, and you're like, wait, what?
Yeah,
she just said she was going to work. We didn't know that's what she did.
I gotta be honest, like just even as monotone as he is, David Cronenberg is so menacing.
Oh yeah,
as a psychiatrist.
Yes, I think it's that tone that really is so
and
impactful.
that mask. That is the creepiest damn mask, and nobody's ever really replicated it.
These people, Aaron, these deaths.
Yeah.
But that would if we're going for ones that are just off by the wayside that didn't get a whole lot of traction in the box office or anything, Nightbreed would have to be my pick.
Okay. Heather, what about yours?
Yeah, if you had one that, this is the only one out of all the cult films that you get to watch over and over again. Which one would it be?
Trick or Treat.
Trick or Treat.
Which stole mine?
Trick or treat. Trick or treat.
I don't know. I honestly don't know if I'll get pushback on this.
Uh-oh.
Do it.
Okay, like it might be too popular because it was a wide release and everything like that, but it doesn't get a whole lot of modern mass appeal love.
No.
Right.
I mean, Halloween Shops have a lot of stuff about it.
Little Shop of Horrors, the musical.
and a lot of times with...
oh my God, I can watch that movie all the time.
Well, and the thing with Trick or Treat is that... Like, it's not something that most people know.
Sure,
like, it's not one of those ones that you're going to be like, oh my God, Sam. I dressed as Sam for Halloween.
Yeah.
Yes.
And some of the people at the party were like, well, I don't know what that's from. I'm like, what?
Educate yourself,
Trick or Treat, as it stands, will never get mass appeal.
No.
For the child deaths.
Yes.
Yeah.
No.
Because that movie
scene with
is
the kids,
tongue-in-cheek fun, but horribly violent.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Why didn't we get Charlie the Dracula costume one year?
I don't know.
That would have been great.
Yeah, it would have. But no.
Shout out to the best line in Trick or Treat. Charlie Brown's an asshole.
Yep. Yep. But I mean, I love it so much. I've gone as, and I am vertically challenged, so I make a good Sam because I am so short, and I have the blanket. Thank you, Paul, for my birthday present last year. It was a Sam trick or treat blanket, and it's fantastic. And it stays out year round, because why the hell not? So,
I think the year after that we put the head on one of the skeletons, didn't we?
We did.
Yeah,
we did.
Sam's always around.
Sam is always around at Heather's house.
But if no one contends for me, Little Shop of Horrors, I watched at probably too young an age, but I literally wore down VHS rentals.
And repo.
I think my dad got so sick of how many times we rented Little Shop of Horrors.
He was probably at this point just fucking buy the damn thing.
We're talking the 80s one?
Yeah, we're talking Rick Moranis.
Yeah, so but I'd also have to throw Repo in there because I love Repo so much.
Yeah.
It's one that I could watch on a loop.
Yeah.
A horror
Chris probably could too. And then she'll sing the songs all day and I'll be like, stop it.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's actually two
Okay.
Well, actually 3, but since she took one of mine, 2 of mine, actually.
We can share.
You can share. I like Repo as much as anybody.
Right?
Y'all can be the twins. Come play with us, Danny.
Come watch with us, Danny.
Hey, Heather. Zytric goes in a little glass vial.
No, it comes in a little glass vial.
I knew she was going to catch that. And that's why she's my sister.
That's right.
I actually do like Constantine. I could watch that on the loop. I love
Constantine.
Repo. I could watch that. Trick or Treat's another one that we share. But Rocky Horror Picture Show.
Oh, yes.
I'm sorry. I love it. I actually have a necklace that has my favorite line.
Do you like Shock Treatment?
Yes.
See, I have both. We've never actually gotten it out, but I have the anniversary edition of both of them that we've never watched.
See, I have the anniversary of Rocky Horror Picture Show.
Shock Treatment too.
But I don't think we have Shock Treatment.
It was a birthday present from an old employee of mine who introduced me to Rocky Horror.
I am a huge Rocky Horror Picture Show girl. On my necklace that our sister Monica, I have "Don't Dream It, Be It" on the back side of
That's
it,
right.
and on my makeup kit that I take to all filming locations and everything, I have that on my makeup kit as well.
Yep.
So I'm a huge lips girl.
Yes.
It's hard to pick just one though.
It is.
Like
it's very hard.
It's not something that I could do. Like
Well, I mean, one we haven't touched on at all. That's on a few of these lists that I'll just say for name recognition. I'm a huge Jacob's Ladder fan.
Yeah, I need to rewatch that again. We've talked about
I
that
haven't
several
watched
times.
that movie in years, and I was going to watch. That was one that I was going to watch, but I couldn't find it streaming anywhere.
Is it not on HBO anymore?
No.
And a good companion piece that's a little bit less known for people that like a Jacob's Ladder, Angel Heart with Mickey Rourke. And
See, I've
Robert
seen
De Niro
Angel Heart.
and Lisa
That's
Bonet.
good.
Yeah.
Mike actually, for the first time, I grew up in that 80s, 90s era, but I'd never seen Attack of the Killer Tomatoes all the way through. And I watched it and I laughed my ass off.
It's great.
But I'm actually, a little excited to watch the second one, Return.
I've got it on disc.
I gotta watch it just because
You
watch one, you gotta watch them both.
I love Return.
You said you hadn't seen all the Killer Clowns. We watched that a while back too.
Yes, and actually, I did not know that the effects artist that was on Face Off was one of the designers of the clowns.
Yes. Yep.
In an early career.
Yep.
Here's the thing: we could just like sit here and talk all night, but I will do us all a favor and not let one go unmentioned, because now that I just sat here and thought about Return of the Killer Tomatoes, I thought of another one, similar tone, that would probably be on Chris's list. Elvira, Mistress of the Dark.
Baby. Yes. Honey, I have Haunted Hills autographed by her, okay?
Yes.
Your boobs aren't signed.
No. Okay, so my daughters and I love Elvira since the old movie Macabre days. We watched it. I grew up with that. That was my original, midnight B-movies segment. And then when she came out with her movie, I forced my mother to take me multiple times. I'm sorry, Mom. And then we got the Haunted Hills when it came out, and so we actually got to meet her at Texas Frightmare. And Cassandra was very sweet, and this was, of course, during the whole Dublin Dr Pepper split thing from and so she actually didn't know that there was a real Dublin town, and Dublin Dr Pepper, and so we actually have our picture with her, and she autographed the Haunted Hills little insert for the DVD, and it was amazing because she actually autographed it to me and my daughter. And my daughters, that's what they grew up with.
Yeah.
I was actually Elvira pre-kids when I was about 19.
So one little interesting thing was when we went and saw her at Frightmare, and when we got to her table, after waiting like 4 hours in line because her line was huge. She reaches up under the table, pulls out this little glass bottle with a straw. And we're like, what are you drinking? She goes, oh, this is called Dublin Dr Pepper. It's the best. I drink this at every convention. It keeps me going. And we're like, oh, really? We live like two blocks from the plant.
Yeah.
She goes, it's in a town?
Yeah.
Dublin's a town? We're like, yeah, we could take you. I mean,
yeah, she actually called it her autographing go-go juice, and it was so cute.
I wonder what she drinks now.
I don't know.
Dublin Bottling Works. Dublin Bottling Works.
We need to introduce her to that next
yes.
time.
But
yes.
Specifically, Mistress of the Dark works like without you even knowing her personality because because it exudes her personality.
Yes.
But it also like has all that footloose camp vibe going on. He's like, oh, repressed town. I'm coming to enlighten the whole, spread positivity or whatever.
Yeah.
Yes.
And a lot of.
Although, if you mention Elvira, you have to mention Vampire.
Okay.
Vampire.
Depends on how you want to pronounce it.
Yeah.
Only because she was the original girl.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Woman with the tiniest waist.
Ever.
Literally.
I know.
I think she had the record for it, just tiniest waist.
Yeah.
So.
I'll have to look that up.
But, like Paul was saying, we could go
on forever.
And on and on and on.
Mm-hmm.
But I think we should probably not
cut the cult.
But yeah, cult classics. There are tons of them, and we did not touch a fraction of them. Mm-hmm. If you think there's one that we should watch that we didn't mention, chances are we may not have seen it.
Or we may have. There's so many in that list.
The list is huge, but check out some of the ones that we've mentioned if you haven't heard of them before, like maybe Repo or some of the others. Give those a try. For all things Fear Central, head on over to fearcentral.net and you get everything from where you can subscribe to us to whatever else, Don't forget our social medias. Subscribe, rate, review, helps us out, helps us grow so we can bring you more. And we will have a great week. We hope you have a great week. And as always,